Hello there, welcome to the sixth lesson of the Python course for beginners. In this video, we will learn about while loops. This is the first type of iterative statements. The next type of iterative statements is called for loops, which we will learn in the next class. So before we get started, let us solve the homework question of the previous class. So I'll go to Python and let me just put all of this in a comment. And now let's try solving this. So first we have to input a person's salary. So we'll take an input. Let us take it as float, as salary is can be a decimal. So float input, enter your salary. Now I'll have to put an if statement. So if salary greater than 5,000, then what do I have to do? I have to print 5% of it. So print 5%, which means 5 divided by 100 into whatever the salary was. So 5 by 100 into the salary. Now just to make things more clear, we'll arrange it in brackets. So I'll put a bracket over here, but this will be for this part, and we multiply that by the salary, and then we end the print statement. Now elif salary greater than 1,000, we should print 10% of it. So I'll actually just copy this, paste it over here, and replace this with 10. Else we have to print 15% of it. So else print 15. That's it. It was as simple as that. Now what would be challenging though if it was given like this: if it is greater than 1,000, print 5% of it. If it is greater than 5,000, print 10% of it. Now the reason why this would be challenging is that obviously when we see the question, we tend to put this first statement as the first one and then the second one as the elif statement. But there would be a fault in this. Like suppose this was the question and I tried solving it, I would usually think of doing this: if salary greater than 1,000, print 5% of it. Salary greater than 5,000, print 10% of it. So if a person enters like 6,000, yes, it is greater than 1,000, but then it's also greater than 5,000. So we should give this statement the priority. And if this becomes true, then this won't even be checked. So we would have to put this one as the main statement. So what I would have to do is I'd have to put this on the top, and then I would have to make this an elif statement. Now that would work. Anyways, let's try running it. So if I enter like 10,000, then we get 1,000 because it was greater than 5,000, so it printed 10% of it, which is 10,000 divided by 10, which gives us 1,000. Now let us continue to learn about while loops. So first we need to understand what are loops. Now loops are anything that happen repeatedly. That's the meaning of the word loop. So while loops are basically loops where something happens as long as the condition is true. So this is the syntax for a while loop. So syntax basically means how the code is written. It is like the template for how to write the code. So we write while and then the condition. Now we enclose this condition in angular brackets because I'm trying to imply that we don't have to write the word condition, but rather what the condition actually is. Then we put a colon and then we indent it, and here we type the statement which we want to execute. It can be anything like printing something or assigning values. Now let us see an example of a while loop. So here, this is a loop to print numbers from 0 to 4. So first we initialize a variable I, and let's store the value 0 to it. Then we put the condition or the while loop. That is, while I is lesser than 5, then print I, and I is equal to I plus 1. So what this means is that as long as I is lesser than 5, it will print I, and then it will increase the value of I with 1. Now the reason why we increase it is because if we don't, it will create an infinite loop, which is something we don't want. And I'll tell more about it later. So let us see what's actually happening in this code. So I is 0, then it checks, is I lesser than 5? Well, it is, because 0 is lesser than 5. So it prints 0, which is the value of I right now. And then it becomes 1, because I is equal to I plus 1. So I gets increased by 1. And then this keeps happening until I reaches 4. So when I becomes 4, it will check while I is lesser than 5, and it will become true because 4 is lesser than 5. Then it will print 4, and then I is equal to I plus 1, so I will become 5. And then it will check while I is lesser than 5. Now here it becomes false, because 5 is not lesser than 5. 5 is actually equal to 5. So it stops this loop, it gets out of this loop, and then it continues to execute the rest of the program. So this is how a while loop works. And as you can see, there are three main steps involved in it. First is the initialization. So I is equal to 0 was our initialization. Next is the condition. So I is less than 5 was our condition. And then I is equal to I plus 1 is called updation. So initialization, condition, and updation are important to execute a proper while loop. You can think of it as an if statement occurring repeatedly. So it checks, right? If I is lesser than 5, print I. So and then increment the value of I. So this if statement basically keeps happening until I is lesser than 5. Okay, so let us try to code that in Python. So I opened a new file and I'm going to save this as while loops. Now let's start coding. So first we initialize. So I'll create a variable I, and right now I'll give it the value 0, and then we type the while statement. So while I is lesser than whatever we want. Let's actually this time give 100, and then we press enter. The indentation happens for us. Then we type print I, and then we update I is equal to I plus 1. So let's see if it runs. And yes, it does. Perfect. It basically printed us all the numbers from 0 to 99 because we gave lesser than 100. If we gave less than or equal to, it would print 100 also. Yep. So obviously loops are really helpful, because if I had to do this program without loops, I would have to write print 1, print 2, print 3, and so on till 100. And if it was like till millions, it would have been like a really time consuming task. It would have not even probably be possible. So loops are really helpful for that. Now what I also want to say is that if we had not given this updation, let us see what would have happened. So it keeps printing 0 and it never ends. Like if I go to full screen, as you can see over here, it's still printing 0, and this will never end. It'll just continue forever. So we'll have to kill the program. Now to avoid this, we give the updation I is equal to I plus 1. And another way to write this, like instead of writing I is equal to I plus 1, like suppose we are really lazy, what we can just write is I plus equal to 1. So this also does the same thing. Yep. And this works for any operator. So over here, before this equals to symbol, we just put whatever operator we want. So if I gave like multiplied by, and this wouldn't really make sense, right? Let me give I as 1, and let me put here 2. So we can see 2 stable until the number reaches 100. Yes. So loops are really helpful for that aspect. And there are many other uses of loops, while loops especially, which we'll learn later. But for now, this is the basic working of a loop. Let me just change it back to the original code. Now one more thing is here, we can put a boolean value. So if I give like while true, then this will keep printing forever. So it won't stop ever. So to get out of that, what we can do is, if I reaches 100, so if I equals to 100, then we write the word break. So this is also a keyword, and what this does is it just gets out of the while loop for us even if the condition is still true. So at 100, as you can see, it stopped. Now instead of this word true, if we gave the number 0, it would consider it as false. And if we gave the number 1, or actually any other number other than 0, it would consider it as true. So the homework question for today is a guessing game. Now what this is that first you assign a variable number as the number of your choice. And first you take an input from the user as the variable guess. And now as long as it is not equal to the actual number, then we keep taking inputs from the user, and we do this only up to a certain number of tries. So you keep taking the variable guess as an input until it exceeds the tries limit. Now, we also keep giving hints about whether the guess is higher or lower than the actual number. Now, this is what the output should look like, but this is like the sample output. It can vary obviously according to your choice. So, first it asks me to enter a guess from 1 to 100. Let's say I enter 50. Then it says, oh, your guess is too high. So, enter a guess from 1 to 100 again. So, I enter like 10. Then it says it's too low. As it's too low, I enter something higher than 10. Let's say I enter 15. Then it again says your guess is low. So suppose I give 17, and again it says your guess is low. So I enter something like 25 maybe. Then it says it's too high. So I try again, maybe something 22. Then again it says your guess is high. So I think of something lower than 22, maybe 20, and it says, oh no, too many tries. Game over. Better luck next time. So as you can see, it only executed like 7 number of times, and after 7 number of times it said too many tries, game over, better luck next time. Now I'll run this code again to show what it would look like if I'd won the game. So again I try. So enter guess from 1 to 100. I type 30 and it says your guess is too high. So I give 20. It says your guess is low. I give 21, and boom, yay, you got it. That is displayed. So this display message is also optional, yay, you got it, or too many tries. It's your wish, but it's better if you do it. Now I know this homework is a bit complicated, especially compared to the previous homeworks I've given. It uses the concepts of while loops, if else. There's actually even a not equal to operator involved, and if you try hard, maybe you'll be able to figure out the code. So that's it for today. Good luck and have a nice day.